Welcome into the Thunder Basketball Universe presented by Summer Moon Coffee. We're recording today's episode on New Year's Eve. It is Tuesday, December 30th. We hope you all had a wonderful holiday, got a chance to maybe watch some Thunder basketball, enjoy some time with your family. Nick, I know you've been here for such a long time. Being at home over the holidays, very rare in the NBA. I mean, you could never sniff at a 4-game homestand to begin with, but to have it over Christmas and New Year's, incredible.
Yeah, something you can never take for granted. And I thought for a second there that my own holiday week time warp was actually really happening when you started to say New Year's Eve.
Yep.
I was like, wait, is it really New Year's Eve already? I was like,
are
are we going to have a game today? No, you hit me with the New Year's Eve. And yeah, no, we've had so many different experiences over the course of time in Oklahoma City, playing at home on Christmas Day, playing on the road on Christmas Day, and then the dreaded having to fly out of town on Christmas Day, which is about as, that's the one that you don't want. At least, this year was so great, particularly with this 4-game homestand here.
Oh, yeah.
You have the game at 1:30. That means you get Christmas morning to do all of the things. Then, you go to the game for a few hours there in the mid-afternoon, right during the time that everybody, kids and adults alike, are usually napping. And 100%. Then you come back home in time for that, wonderful Christmas dinner, the Norman Rockwell Christmas dinner that you think about, so. It's great and a wonderful time. We've seen the crowds have been so much fun over the last couple days.
A lot of families too. I love seeing like a lot of kids in the crowd as well. And it's really funny too because me and Royce Young, we do the post-game show, and that's typically when the arena's like emptying out, everyone's out, except for the player families. And that section has been very full over these last few home games because everybody's come into town to watch these guys play, and they get a chance to actually be here for a minute and spend some time with their families. Yeah,
I've gotten more texts from our family friends who have young kids saying, hey, we're at the game tonight this week than any other time during the season.
So it's perfect.
With everybody out of school, this is like the best time to be able to go to a Thunder game.
Yeah, it's been really, really great inside of Paycom Center. A lot of energy, particularly over these past couple of games as well. The Thunder finally facing an Eastern Conference opponent after 43 days of a hiatus from not playing.
I can't believe you've counted it out. That's amazing.
I did the math. I'm always going to do the math. 43 days between the last time the Thunder played an Eastern Conference team to the most recent matchup against the Philadelphia 76ers and then the Atlanta Hawks. Thunder walked away victorious, still undefeated against the East this season. So we have a lot to discuss over this last week. That's a perfect segue into our Summer Moon Stat of the Week. Nick Gallo, what you got for us?
Well, I want to talk about something on this little back-to-back set against those Eastern Conference teams. And so my number is 103 out of 185, which is good for 56%.
That feels like a really good shooting percentage from the field.
That's exactly right. That's
what it is?
That's what the Thunder shot from the field in those 2 games against Atlanta and Philadelphia.
Oh, that's incredible.
103 made field goals in those 2 games combined. And to shoot 56% from the field, I mean, that is like just beyond what would be number 1 in terms of league average shooting from the field in a game. And what that indicates to me is that this team was getting high quality looks. They were getting looks in rhythm, and they were able to generate exactly what they wanted each trip down, even when those 2 teams were putting out defensive alignments that were slightly different.
That's what I was going to point out, was that the Sixers and the Hawks kind of threw the kitchen sink at the Thunder, because obviously teams are trying to keep them out of the paint. They're trying to keep them they're trying to slow the Thunder down, essentially. And so we saw a lot of zone. We saw some high traps. We saw some full court pressure, and of course some man-to-man as well. And the fact that the Thunder was able to consistently generate quality looks against that, wonky coverage that a team was throwing at them was very impressive. The most impressive part is it wasn't just one guy. Yeah, Shai had some great games. We saw Chet Holmgren put together some amazingly efficient nights as well. But also guys like Ajay Mitchell, Alex Caruso, J-Dub as well. All of those guys finding really quality cracks in those defenses to get good looks.
Yeah, Shai, Chet, and J-Dub all above 20 points last night against the Hawks, and a couple nights before that I mean, just unbelievable efficiency. Chet Holmgren, 29 points on 12 of 17 shooting in that game against Philadelphia. Shai had 27 points on 13 shot attempts. I mean, just ridiculous
that was incredible
in that game. And another one of those nights where he had, more points than he did minutes and was able to rest in that third quarter or in that fourth quarter. That wasn't the case last night against Atlanta. That was a shootout. And I know we'll get to that a little bit more, but a great chance for this Thunder team to flex the offensive muscles and 100%. Put up 140 points.
Yeah, against an Atlanta Hawks team who also wanted to put up 140 points in that game. I mean, by halftime, it was trending in that direction. Yeah. Great defense by the Thunder in the second half of that game. I want to get into my stat because it kind of runs parallel to yours. Yeah. And my number is 142.
That's the number of points in the paint combined over the last 2 games. And the reason I know that is because when I walked in here today, I was like, I'm going to do 142 as my stat of the week. And I show up and I look at the rundown and it's 142 already sitting there because we only have one brain combined.
We share one brain cell now. Yeah. And 142 was very top of mind for me because I remember getting ready for the post-game show after the Sixers game, looking down at that box score and seeing 72 points in the paint for the Thunder. Incredibly, a season high, wildly large number for the Thunder in scoring in the paint. And then you go to yesterday and I look at that box score and I see 70 points in the paint. And in my brain, I'm like, this is insane for the Thunder for a couple of reasons. Everything that the Hawks threw at the Thunder, everything that the Sixers threw at the Thunder was specifically designed to keep them out of the paint. That is it is number one on the Thunder scouting report. They want to get to the rim. They want to get downhill. They want to get 2 feet in the paint. And yet they put up these insanely high numbers. And it just speaks to the Thunder's ability to problem solve, just like we were talking about with their shooting efficiency.
I thought particularly in the game against Philadelphia, we saw high, hard traps against Shai, forcing the Thunder to try to play 4-on-3 on the backside. That was no problem. OKC got what they wanted. They played drop coverage. They tried to send Andre Drummond back to the rim to just hold down the fort and prevent anything easy at the bucket. Didn't matter. OKC still drew him in enough to be able to get lobs over the top and get what they wanted around the rim. Then they went to his zone. OKC managed to crack that. They sent Shai right into the nail, got what they wanted down there too. It was formulaic, not in a predictable way, but in a bang, here's the coverage. We figured out, okay, they tried to disguise it.
Read and react.
No problem. We got it. Here's what we're getting into. Guy moved to one spot on the floor. We got into the alignment we needed to get to. There's still 15 seconds on the shot clock. We're good to go.
I think one of my favorite examples of this is when we saw Philadelphia go to a zone. And it was, standard 2-3 zone. And what the Thunder did, which was brilliant, was put Shai in the middle of that zone, kind of operating in the nail. Perfect guy to put in the middle of the zone because it forces everybody to recognize, oh my gosh, we need to shrink down. That's Shai at the nail. Can't let him get the ball. And yet sometimes he would get the ball, and as soon as that happened, what happened to that zone? Completely collapsed on Shai. Right. And what happened? Shai would either work his magic and find a way to shoot the ball and get a great look, or he would kick the ball out. And he had a couple of great kickouts to guys like Lou and AC who would knock down these great shots from behind the arc. But it goes to your point, the read, react. But the Thunder has, and Coach Dagnall does a great job of this, building up that toolkit to give these guys options so that they're not necessarily running set plays and, having to think through algorithms out there on the court. They're just, we've got these tools. Here's the problem. What tool are we throwing at this problem?
Yeah, exactly. That's precisely it. And Shai, he is learning the game in real time. He has recognized that he wants to be a player that is significantly better mentally as much as he is physically from year to year. And he's continuing to do that. Putting him at the nail also is just a fascinating thing because it's not often that you get point guards that can sit there at the nail in a zone. Usually, frankly, they're too small. And Shai is 6'6".
That's a good point.
And so having that size there in the middle of the floor allows him to at least be able to see what's going on, figure out the landscape, and his court awareness already is extremely high.
Great
point. But, let's say that he was 6'2". It's a lot harder to put him in that spot on the floor and have him be as effective. So just another example of the gifts that Shai has.
One last thing on this points in the paint number. And this specifically goes to the Thunder's game last night against the Atlanta Hawks. This game was kind of weird in a couple of ways. The Atlanta Hawks shot the lights out. There was no Trae Young. There was no Kristaps Porzingis, no Jalen Johnson. So already you're looking at the personnel and you're like, okay, they're going to be scratching and clawing for some offense. That was not the case for the Hawks. We saw guys like Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Keaton Wallace.
Yeah.
Cason Wallace's older brother comes in, flamethrower, 3 straight threes. I mean, by the way, this is a side note. The Wallace brothers combined for 8 for 10 from 3 last night.
Well, their parents and their family were in the building, so I think they were trying to just win that sibling rivalry, I suppose.
That's true. Yeah. I was like, okay, it's a good day to be a Wallace brother today. But that was an aside. But to that effect, the Atlanta Hawks at halftime had 14 made threes. I think they had 64 points, 65 points or something like that at halftime. They were absolutely on fire from the three-point line. By the end of the night, they finished with 25 made threes. Absolutely blistering hot. You said it in our walk-off. The Nets were scorching a little bit.
Yeah, they were. I mean, there were some singe marks on there for sure.
And yet, the Thunder was the team that put up 140 points, having only made 13 threes in that game. And that is the way the Thunder was able to win, was because of their points in the paint and the efficiency, the volume, and the consistency in their ability to just relentlessly find looks in the paint. And that level of kind of consistent production with an area that you can control that. You can control your ability to get into the paint because it opens up so many looks around the rim and around and behind the arc as well. But you can't control how the other team shoots the ball. That's the variance in shooting. You're going to get an outlier number like that from the Atlanta Hawks where they just absolutely can't miss. But the Thunder does a great job of being very consistent in what they can control, and that's getting downhill.
Yeah, and the word you're going to hear from the Thunder a lot, particularly Mark Daigneault, is trade-offs.
Yep.
And OKC is willing to accept certain trade-offs if they feel like over the course of time, the data that they've collected on it, the feeling that they have that if they press their advantages a certain way, the outcomes are going to tilt in their favor. Winning the paint to the degree that they did, they recognize like that is the advantage that we're going to try to press here. We may give up some threes, but they prevented Atlanta from getting anything in the paint, just 36 points in the paint all game. When you win that margin, 70-36, you can stomach a differential from the three-point line of 25-12. So, those things just make a bit of a difference there for you.
It was absolutely incredible to look at that box score and just kind of try to digest the story of that game yesterday, because it was not your usual box score that you would anticipate.
Because the other thing that happens when you attack the paint is you get to the free throw line. And what you look at when you look at the box score from yesterday is the Thunder wins the game by 11.
Yep.
And they make 10 more free throws than Atlanta does. And a lot of that has to do with the getting downhill, attacking the paint. And so you add up, you can almost add it right there. It's the points in the paint plus the free throws line. And then maybe you subtract the difference in the 3-point makes, and that gives you your final margin. And if you're winning that trade-off every night, you're going to end up with a really good record.
And the Thunder, they certainly do have a really good record right now.
We're about to get into that, I think.
I think that's a perfect segue, because we are talking to you, as I mentioned, on December 30th. Only one more day left in 2025. So we figured this would be a really good time to just reflect back on this year, this incredible year for the Oklahoma City Thunder, and talk through some of the highlights that have stuck out in our minds. And Nick, you brought up a really good one. We mentioned a really good record. Tell us that Thunder record over this calendar year of 2025.
Yeah, calendar year, the Thunder is 69-14 in the regular season. Of course, there was a 23-game playoff run in there. There was also one game in the NBA Cup Finals that didn't count. We're not going to count that here for our purposes either. But if the Thunder can take care of business and win the game on New Year's Eve here at Paycom Center against the Portland Trailblazers tomorrow night, they will have racked up 70 wins in the calendar year 2025. Now, of course, 70 wins will be in a total of 84 games, but still just an absolutely absurd number to be hitting in a calendar year. 70 wins potentially on the table for OKC.
And I think this parlays perfectly into the next point that I want to bring up, and that's the fact that the Thunder started this season very, very strong. I mean, we're 34 games into the season, and the Thunder, incredible start to the year, coming off of a very long season, a short off season. So their ability to just kind of hit the ground running like we've seen this year, very, very impressive. But it hasn't been without its fair share of adversity. And this is one thing that I wanted to bring up. This is just a highlight in my brain. The Thunder's ability to start the season so strong, having dealt with the injuries that they dealt with to start the season.
And continue to deal with.
Let's not forget, J-Dub missed the first 19 games of this season. The Thunder started the season as well without Kenrich Williams. Aaron Wiggins missed a good chunk of games. Isaiah Hartenstein missed some games. Chet's missed some games. I mean, Lou Dort. It's been a little bit of a revolving door for Oklahoma City in terms of who's been available to them. But what has been consistent is the identity that we see on the court every single night. And that's something the Thunder has been building over the course of years and years, built last season and are continuing to build on this year.
Yeah, and, it's probably easier to mention the guys who haven't missed extended time than it is the ones who have. I mean, we didn't even mention the fact that the Thunder's last 2 top 15 picks in the NBA draft both haven't played a minute for the team this year either. So when you just think about roster building, to have the level of depth on this team, to have 2 top 15 picks who haven't been able to play yet, with being the team with the second most games lost to injury so far this season, and to still have a 28-5 record here heading into the final game of the calendar year 2025, absolutely incredible job by the front office to build out the roster, the coaching staff to develop the players, the training staff to get guys ready to play longer extended minutes, to get back onto the floor as quickly as possible after some of these freak things have happened. The entire organization, top to bottom, deserves credit for being able to put the pieces together on a night-to-night basis to be effective.
And one of those guys who hasn't missed extended time, Ajay Mitchell, who, I mean, as the Thunder has dealt with injury, he's been thrown into some extended roles, extended opportunities. And how about the development we've seen from him over the course of this season? This has been no surprise to the Thunder, we should point out. Everyone in that locker room and in that Thunder Ion was well aware of what Ajay Mitchell is capable of offensively. What I think was a little bit shocking was the confidence that he was going to play with on a night-to-night basis and the rate at which he would improve when given the experience that he's gotten.
Yeah, 2 more games in double figures for him on this little back-to-back at home, and he's now scored in double figures over 80% of the games that he's played so far this season. I mean, this is a guy who came in on a 2-way deal and in the span of about 18 months has shown that he's a very, very important player on this team and
even
a valuable
after
player.
Missing extended time last year with injury.
Yeah, and a reporter asked Mark Daigneault, what did you see from Ajay Mitchell in training camp that let you know that he was going to be this type of player this year? And Mark said, well, I did see it in training camp, but it was last year's training camp that he recognized just how effective Mitchell could be.
Yeah.
But the one thing that Mark has said is the physical development, the time that Ajay was able to spend in the gym to hone and refine his body to really become an NBA level body has made a big difference in his game. Some of the attacks to the rim and how physical that he has been at the rim, taking on contact, scoring through, fouls and whatnot. That's been extremely impressive to see from Ajay.
Great toughness on Ajay's part because he has taken some hard spills.
He's been clobbered.
Absolutely clobbered when he's gotten to the rim, but he, to his credit, pops right back up, keeps moving, and has been very consistent for the Thunder over the start of this season. And it's been really, really fun to watch. Really happy to see Ajay taking advantage of his experiences and opportunities. Another guy we got to talk about, of course, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You're going to talk about consistency. One of my favorite stats this season is counting how many times Shai scores 30 and under 30 minutes. Our guy CJ coming through as always. He has, now, there's a little bit of a caveat here. He has 9 games with 30 points in under 30 minutes. 10 games with 30 points in 30 minutes. So there was one game where he had exactly 30 points in exactly 30 minutes.
So let's say 30 and under.
30 and under, yes. So 10 such games over the course of this season. And you talked about it, just his ability to have so much efficiency offensively, but is problem solving against high level defense.
Yeah, he's coming dangerously close to being one of those point per minute guys that, I mean, we've only seen that a handful of times in NBA history for players to have just as many points scored as minutes played per game at this level. You know, you have some guys that maybe come in and play, 4 or 5 minutes a game and they average 4 or 5 points. But
that's right.
But at this level, given the responsibility that is on Shai's plate to not just generate his own offense and keep the scoreboard moving for the team, but to make sure, and you just see it happening in real time, he has this electromagnetic pulse out there on the floor, and he's feeling these little bumps and dips of his teammates, where they're at, what's going on the floor. And it's not solely his responsibility, nor does he operate this way to be like, I got to get this guy a shot now. I got to get this guy a shot now. But by operating within the Thunder's offensive flow, Shai ensures that everybody is, getting a touch, everybody's feeling a part of the offense, and in his own way is generating looks for guys when he senses, okay, this player is either feeling it or this player needs a good touch.
A great game management and game control for a guy who is the highest usage player for this team. Spends a lot of time on the ball, with the ball, in the game. Yeah, you need to be able to have a good pulse and feel, not just in what you need to do and when it's time to push your own button and go downhill, but what it takes to make sure the collective is moving forward and getting good looks.
Yeah, and it's just like anything with, anything at work or relationship or whatever. It always is better if the person in that position is intuiting that. And nobody's having to say that to them. That a player's 100%. Not having to come to him and say, "Hey, like, I really need something right now, right? I need to feel like I'm a part of the offense right now." It's like if that guy in that position is getting to that place first, well, then everybody just feels like, okay, I'm being thought of in that way.
Exactly. And one guy who has benefited from this, but is also a guy that you don't necessarily have to push a button for him to get a good look. Chet Holmgren.
Absolutely.
And I want to talk about Chet's numbers specifically in December because they've been great, especially over these last few games here. In December, he's averaging 18 points, 7 rebounds. Get this, 60% from the field, 47% from the three-point line.
Mark Daignault says, when players are efficient, it makes space for everybody else. Chet Holmgren has always been, his entire career, his entire basketball life, an extremely efficient player. I think we've talked on this podcast before about just how bamboozled I was by seeing that Chet took less than 10 shots per game at Gonzaga. And I was just thinking, like, this guy's going to be the number 2 pick in the draft. Why is he not taking 25 shots a game?
Yeah.
But Chet didn't need 10 shots a game to be effective. He needed 10 to be effective, to be efficient, to score the points that he needed to score, and to help make sure that the rest of the team was firing on all cylinders too, in order to be an extremely effective winning basketball team.
Exactly.
And something that Chet continues to do at this level is to take the opportunities that he is given, to take what the defense is putting in front of him and maximize his output during that, so that the rest of the team can thrive and be more dynamic and be a more challenging threat to the opponent.
I think one of the coolest things to see, and I think it's been really loud over December, just for me specifically, is the variety of Chet's scoring. A lot of the times you think like, all right, he's versatile. He can do a lot of different things out on the court. But no, he's like a true 3-level scorer. Yep. And I'm going to say 4-level scorer because I'm counting above the rim. I lost count.
So above the rim, at the rim, mid-range, and then three-point line. Okay,
and I'm counting that because
that's fine.
The vertical spacing that he provides in terms of the lobs that I legitimately lost track of how many lobs he had in the Thunder's game last night against the Hawks. And over these last 2 games in particular, AJ Mitchell has been really connecting with him on some lobs as well. Hartenstein to Chet, I mean, that's been a great duo as well. But that vertical spacing opens things up. And then you have Chet stretching behind the three-point line. And when you have a guy at his size stretching behind the three-point line, that opens up so much space on the court because you have to go out there. You have to go and contest that because he's shooting 47% in December.
Yeah, and that is such a game changer for OKC because the Thunder, again, we've talked earlier in this episode about being dead set on getting to the rim, getting downhill, attacking at the rim. Well, if your biggest player is just camped out down there on the block, it's a heck of a lot harder for your guards to slice all the way to the rim and get a wide open layup the way that the Thunder's been able to. Also, if teams are going to pack the paint, to have an outlet like Chet Holmgren, who's shooting 47% from three, well, that just puts the defenses in total knots, trying to figure out, okay, do we really want to take away the rim? Or do we want to maybe deal with this guy who's 7'1", who's raining threes down over us?
Do you know what else puts defenses in knots? Having a 7-footer come off a pin down.
Yeah. I mean, that's just silly.
Yeah. I mean,
there's only 2 or 3 guys in the history of the NBA, including one who played here for a very long time,
exactly,
at that size, who can come off of off ball screens like that and make shots.
I mean, how many centers are having to practice chasing a guy over a pin down screen, or even having to guard a guy coming off a ball screen like that? Just very rare. And one more reason why the Thunder has been able to problem solve in so many different scenarios over the course of not just this season, but 2025 as a calendar year.
Yeah, and we've just laid out a bunch of reasons why you should get to your laptop or your phone right now and vote All-Star, vote often, vote a lot. Today is a triple vote day. We've got a couple more coming up. I believe the 7th and the 14th of January. Yes, so make sure you're voting for the Thunder. Vote often. Of course, Shai and Chet, they both showed up in the top 20 of returns far in All-Star voting. Let's boost those numbers up even higher, okay?
Yeah,
Let's get those guys in the top 15, top 10.
You can go to okcthunder.com/vote, and you do need an NBA ID. If you haven't done it already, it's very simple, takes a few minutes, and it's free. So be sure to vote every day, vote Thunder, and take advantage of those triple vote days. Let's get those guys up in those numbers a little bit more. All right, so we have one more day left in 2025. And that day is a game day inside of Paycom Center. Let's get into what's brewing for Oklahoma City. And it's a matchup against the Portland Trail Blazers. This annual tradition of a New Year's Eve game inside of Paycom Center is one of my favorite things about working here. Everyone gets so excited for it. You can always mark it on your calendar. Thunder, going to be at home on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, it's one of the great traditions. You know, this team came to Oklahoma City and they had a blank slate. Yeah. And they had to figure out, okay, how are we going to be a franchise here? How are we going to kind of make our connections with the city? This is, one great and small way that this team does it, is having this game every year on New Year's Eve, ringing in the new year with all your favorite people. And, I have Thunder fans talk to me about this all the time. And my perspective is that the best arenas, the best stadiums in professional sports are the ones where if you sit in a random section on a random night, you feel like everybody around you is talking to each other, that they know each other, that there's a community there. And that's what this organization has built here in Oklahoma City. Yeah. That the people in the stands, they know each other, they like each other, they are excited to come to the building as just as much of kind of a social gathering and honoring what's been built here in the community as it is watching a basketball game.
It's truly something special. And I was talking to Royce Young about it yesterday, and he obviously was here for the first New Year's Eve game. And he said he'll never forget it. The Thunder, they started the season 4-something. Yeah. And they got that New Year's Eve win. It was against a really good team. And after the game, people were driving around the city honking their horns. There was just so much great energy, and that's what you can anticipate. The Thunder going to try to sprint through the finish line of 2025, and when they get into 2026, they open up the new year with a 2-game road trip in Golden State and Phoenix. So a lot to look forward to, but come down to Paycom Center. Come check out the New Year's Eve matchup and ring in your new year with some Thunder basketball. It should be pretty fun.
Yep, should be extremely, extremely fun at home, and it rounds out that 4-game homestand, as you mentioned.
Point. Yep. Yeah, so it's been really fun inside of this building. Looking forward to that New Year's Eve matchup against the Portland Trail Blazers, 7 p.m. Central Time, and you can catch it on FanDuel Sports Network. Me and Nick, we got you.
Yeah, we got you.
All right, but that wraps up today's episode. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Be sure to like, rate, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Thank you so much to our producer, Matt Bishop, and until next time, Thunder up and Happy New Year.